The first time Adrian locked the gym door behind me, I thought he was about to threaten me. His father was my boxing coach, the man who had rebuilt my confidence after the worst year of my life. His son was supposed to be the golden boy, disciplined, popular, impossible to read. But that night Adrian pressed his back against the door, looked at me like he was terrified of what I might say, and whispered, "If my dad finds out why you're really here, neither of us gets to come back." Then he pulled a folded photograph from his pocket. It was a picture of me, taken outside my apartment 3 nights earlier. And on the back, someone had written, "Tell him before I do." I should have walked away. Instead, I asked Adrian one question. "Who took this?" His answer changed everything. "My name is Noah. I was 26 when I joined Westbridge Boxing Club, 6 months after leaving a relationship that had taught me to confuse being tolerated with being loved." Coach Marcus Hale ran the place like a military camp. He was hard, fair, and strangely patient with me. He never asked why I stayed after everyone else left. He just handed me another round and told me to keep my hands up. His son Adrian was 28 and worked the evening desk. He had his father's height, his mother's soft eyes, and none of his father's willingness to explain himself. He barely spoke to me. When I said hello, he nodded. When I asked about the schedule, he pointed at the board. When I made a joke, he looked away before I could see whether he was smiling. I assumed he disliked me. Then I noticed the contradictions. Adrian always left a bottle of water beside my bag, even though I never asked for one. He corrected everyone's footwork except mine. And whenever Coach Marcus praised me, Adrian's jaw tightened like the compliment had cost him something. One Friday night, I stayed late to finish a workout. Rain hammered the windows. The building was almost empty. I was wrapping my hands when Adrian appeared in the doorway. "You should go," he said. "Is that your way of saying goodnight?" "No." He glanced toward the office. "It's my way of saying you shouldn't be here when my father comes back." Before I could ask why, the office light switched on. Adrian grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the equipment room. The door closed between us in the hallway. His hand was still around my wrist when he whispered, "Don't make a sound." We stood shoulder to shoulder between stacked mats and metal shelves. I could hear Coach Marcus moving through the gym, calling Adrian's name. Adrian's grip loosened, but he didn't let go. "You're shaking," I whispered. "So are you. I'm not the one hiding me in a closet." His eyes met mine in the darkness. For 1 second, the guarded expression disappeared, and I saw something raw underneath it. Fear. Want. Maybe both. Then he stepped back. When his father finally left, Adrian unlocked the door and walked straight to the office. I followed him because curiosity has always been my most self-destructive habit. He opened a drawer and pulled out the photograph. It was me outside my apartment, looking up at my own window. "Who took it?" I asked. "I don't know." "Why do you have it?" "Because it was left under my windshield wiper." He turned the photograph over. The message was written in black ink, "Tell him before I do." "Tell me what?" I asked. Adrian stared at the photo instead of me. "That you're not the only one being watched." A car door slammed outside. We both turned toward the front windows. Coach Marcus was standing in the rain, looking directly at the office. Adrian's face went pale. He grabbed my jacket and pulled me behind the filing cabinet. His father entered the gym. And this time, he locked the main door. Coach Marcus didn't come into the office. He walked slowly through the gym, checking the bags, the lockers, the windows. Like he was searching for someone. Adrian leaned close enough that I felt his breath against my ear. "Whatever happens, don't tell him about the photo." "Why?" "Because he'll know I showed you." "And why is that dangerous?" Adrian closed his eyes. "My father thinks I'm protecting you from him." The words made no sense until he added, "He thinks you know what happened to Daniel." Daniel was a former fighter who had disappeared from the club 2 years earlier. Coach Marcus never said his name. The older members treated the subject like an injury that could reopen if touched. "What happened to Daniel?" I asked. Adrian looked toward the mirrored wall. He found something in the club's accounts. Money missing. Payments made to a private investigator. He confronted my father, and 2 days later he left town. "Did he leave voluntarily?" "I don't know. But you think your father did something." "I think my father is hiding something. I don't know if he's protecting someone or protecting himself." A shadow moved across the glass office door. Coach Marcus stopped outside. Adrian, he called. Is Noah with you? Neither of us answered. The handle turned once, then stopped. Adrian, his father said, quieter this time. You need to decide whose side you're on. Footsteps moved away. Adrian waited until the gym went silent. Then he took my hand. Not by accident. Not in the dark because there was no room. He took it because he had finally run out of ways to pretend. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For wanting you here. I should have asked him to explain. I should have asked about Daniel, the photograph, and his father. Instead, I said, then stop apologizing. Adrian looked at my mouth. The kiss was brief, frightened, and completely real. When he pulled away, he looked like he had just stepped into traffic. I can't do this, he said. You just did. My father owns this place. He owns half the people in this town. If he finds out about us, he'll destroy my life. Does he know you're gay? No. Does anyone? Adrian laughed once, without humor. Daniel did. The name landed between us. What did Daniel know? Adrian walked to the mirror and pressed his palm against the glass. Daniel wasn't just a fighter. He was my boyfriend. I couldn't speak. He found the accounts because he was looking for proof my father was paying people to follow me. He thought my father knew about us. He was right. And then he disappeared. 3 days before he left, he gave me a flash drive. He said if anything happened, I should give it to someone outside the club. Where is it? Adrian looked at me. My father has it now. A phone began ringing in the office. Neither of us moved. It was Adrian's phone. The screen showed an unknown number. A message appeared beneath it. You kissed him. Now ask Noah what he was paid to find. Adrian slowly turned toward me. Why does it say your name? I had no good answer. Because the truth was, I hadn't joined Westbridge by accident. 3 weeks earlier, a private investigator had contacted me. He said my former employer owed him money, and he offered me a deal. Spend time at the club, observe Coach Marcus, and find out whether Daniel was still alive. I didn't know Adrian was involved. I didn't know the investigator had taken photographs of me. And I definitely didn't know the investigation had been paid for by Daniel's sister, who believed Coach Marcus had forced Daniel to disappear. Adrian listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked, were you ever going to tell me? I was trying to find proof first. You were trying to find proof while I was falling for you. The anger in his voice hurt more than if he had shouted. I didn't plan to fall for you. No, you planned to use me. He walked toward the door. I caught his arm. He looked down at my hand and then back at my face. Let go. I did. He opened the door. Coach Marcus was standing on the other side. He held a small black flash drive between 2 fingers. Good, he said. Now all 3 of us can stop lying. Coach Marcus placed the flash drive on the desk. He didn't threaten us. He didn't call the police. He simply sat down, suddenly older than he had looked an hour earlier. Daniel is alive, he said. Adrian gripped the edge of the desk. Where? Portugal. He left because I told him to. You told him to disappear. I told him to run before the men who were watching you found him. Coach Marcus explained that the missing money had been used to pay investigators who were tracking a former sponsor involved in illegal fight fixing. Daniel had discovered the accounts but misunderstood who was being followed. Coach Marcus had tried to protect Adrian by hiding the truth. But the flash drive contained something worse. A recording of Coach Marcus confronting the sponsor, begging him to leave Adrian alone. The sponsor had threatened to expose Adrian publicly if Marcus refused to cooperate. That was why Marcus had acted cold. Why he had pushed Daniel away. Why he had watched everyone who came near his son. It didn't excuse the lies. It explained them. Then Coach Marcus turned to me. The investigator who hired you works for the sponsor. My stomach dropped. The photographs, the message, the pressure, it had never been about discovering whether Daniel was alive. It had been about finding the flash drive. And I had walked it straight to them. A car stopped outside the gym. Coach Marcus looked toward the windows. They're here. Adrian reached for my hand. This time, he didn't care who saw. We escaped through the back entrance and reached the police station before the sponsor's men could corner us. Daniel's sister handed over the original files. The recording, the payment records, and the photographs were enough to open an investigation. Coach Marcus closed the gym for 2 months. When it reopened, the first thing he changed was the lock on the equipment room. The second thing he changed was the sign above the entrance. It no longer said Westbridge Boxing Club. It said Westbridge Community Gym. A place where no one had to hide who they loved. Adrian and I didn't become official overnight. Fear doesn't disappear just because the truth comes out. But every Friday evening, after the last class, we stayed behind and turned off the lights together. One night, he asked, "Do you ever regret coming here?" I looked at him and said, "I regret the reason I came." "And the reason you stayed?" I took his hand in the middle of the empty gym. That one saved me. The next morning, a photograph arrived in the mail. It showed Adrian and me holding hands outside the gym. On the back, someone had written, "You found the wrong secret." I looked at Adrian. He looked at me. Then his phone rang. The caller ID showed Daniel. And before Adrian could answer, a voice came through the voicemail. "Your father didn't tell you the whole story. To be continued."